Alright, so welcome back, everybody. So, just in case you didn't watch my 11 through 20 favorite board games, my name is Spencer Brewstead, and I'm a keeper support volunteer at the Boise Zoo. That means I will work with the animals and the zookeepers there. And while I get to do some, cool stuff, it's a lot of hard work for sure. And I really enjoy it though. I've been a volunteer at that zoo for almost 20 years, at least 15. Some of the animals I get to work with, or at least be around, are the giraffes, for instance, or the baboons, for instance, and many other animals, but those are definitely the two most interesting, for me anyway. So yes, I get to do some cool stuff, and so that means I love animals because obviously I'm a zoo volunteer. I really love animals, and so I really love animal board games. And I not only really love animal board games, but I do enjoy other board games as well. But those will be my priority when obtaining a new board game. It will be an animal related board game, most likely, because I can't afford every single board game that comes out. Not even every single animal board game that comes out that I see, as much as I'd like to get my hands on it, right? So for this video, I'm going to share with you guys my top 10 favorite board games. These are truly my most favorite board games. And so consider subscribing to my channel, because while this might be your first time watching any of my videos, potentially, right? I do make a lot of how to play videos for various board games. I haven't done it for every single board game I've bought, but I've done a lot. And I try to do some occasionally. I try to do at least a how to play video once or twice a month, because it is a lot of work to do that, and I'm just doing it for fun, mind you. I don't get paid for any of this. I just do it for the fun of it, because I enjoy sharing what I think of a game, or I enjoy teaching a game, and it also makes it easier when teaching a board game to my friends. They can watch my video as I'm setting up the game, so that's always helpful, because I can't really multitask setting up a game and trying to teach it at the same time. I've never been able to do that very well. So anyways, so what is my 10th favorite board game? That is Above and Below. Now, this is a Red Raven game, and this won't be the last Red Raven game on my list. There's a few more to come. So, Red Raven games are designed by Ryan Lockett, and his family and friends have helped him design these games too. But he's also the publisher of his own board game company as well. So he's truly a marvel when it comes to board games and everything related to board games. He's truly a marvel. He does the artwork for him. He does the artwork himself too, usually, for all the games. So that's another thing. He usually does the artwork for all the games. So that's really cool, right? He does the artwork. He makes the game. He's the publisher. Amazing guy. Even got to meet him once. So that was awesome. So anyways, Above and Below is a sort of a story game. It's not like a campaign story where you'll encounter something and then it will sort of evolve into something else, right? It'll become something else later down the road. You'll bump into so-and-so again. It's not like that. It's a random encounter. You're going to go into the Great Below, hence down there, where those glogos are, and that might be something you encounter down there. And you're just going to it's going to be a completely random encounter. You're not going to know what you're going to find or see. Then, once you get down there, based on what you have experienced, it's going to give you a list of options that you can do. Sometimes they're all good options. Sometimes there's one option that seems like it's a bad one, and there's another one that seems like a good one. Sometimes it seems like you can be the good guy or the bad guy. And sometimes you don't have a choice, because you have to basically satisfy some conditions, and you might not always be able to satisfy all of the different choices of conditions. That's why it's better to always go diving with more people, more than two sometimes. And while you're not diving in an ocean, you're definitely delving, for sure, into this giant cavern. And so, like I said, it's the experience, it's the encounters, it's the randomness that I love about this game. I've played some of his other games that are more story driven and more campaign like, but this one is still my favorite out of all of those other ones that are more, the evolving storyline that a lot of people seem to like. And I do like that, but for this particular equation, I really like just the random encounters of this game. Now, there's other things you're doing with this game. It's sort of a set collection. You're trying to get certain types of goods, and a lot of those goods, mushrooms and gemstones and things like that. You're also going to need more people into your town, so that's cool. And while you are trying to recruit people into your town, you need to have some place for them to sleep. And you only start with 3 beds, and you only start with 3 guys. So that means one person is not going to get a good night's sleep, right? Because you only have 3 beds. And so what's going to happen? Well, he's not going to get a good night's sleep, and he's not going to be able to help you the next day. So you're going to need to look for a building that has a bed on it and build it for him. Or get yourself a cider token, and he can be sipping cider all night long, and that will be good enough for him to work for the next day, So there's a lot of things going on, but not a lot. It's not super hard game, the mechanics-wise, but really, what makes this game so great is just going down there, seeing what there is to see, and hopefully, getting a bunch of cool stuff in the process, That's why Above and Below is my number 10. All right. So, what is my number 9? So, for anyone who's watched my top 10 videos over the years, this next game was much higher on my list last year. And so now it's bumped down all the way to number 9. But I still love it a lot, even though it's number 9. And that is Deep Vents, which is another Red Raven game, Deep Vents. Now, there's a lot of people who do not like this game. Why don't they like this game? Well, there's iconography that takes time to learn. You're not likely to learn the iconography after just one game. I did, for the most part, learned all the iconography, except for a few of the different animals. There was a couple that I, needed to look at the rulebook again for. But for the most part, I understood the iconography. I thought it was very simple. But a lot of people don't think that the iconography in this game is very simple, and that was one of the reasons why they didn't like it, because they want to know how to play the game and know all the strategies after just one playthrough, or even halfway through a game, for that matter. And if that doesn't happen for them, they're usually thinking, okay, this game's not worth my time. But, like I said, I think this is a great game. There's another reason. So, this game, the idea of this game is you're building an ecosystem, okay? So you're going to be placing out tiles into a area that's surrounding a deep vent that you start with. And you're trying to attract animals, and you're trying to make more types of vents and things like that. And you're trying to build this, basically, an underwater deep vent ecosystem. And so a lot of the tiles, not all of them, but a lot of the tiles are more like the aggressive side, because they are. You got a vampire squid. That sounds like it's going to attack somebody, right? You're going to have potentially a giant squid or a colossal squid, and you think that's definitely going to attack somebody, right? Or a goblin shark. That sounds like it's going to attack somebody. So you have all these animals that, in real life, thematically, seem like they are going to attack something, right? And so because of that, they're more of the aggressive tiles, and they will attack other players. But it's not like Risk, where you choose the person you're attacking. You attack everybody. Of course, everybody gets hit differently based on the attack, because there's various different types of attacks in this game. And that's another reason why some people don't like this game, is because of all that attacking. But honestly, if you focus too much on the attacking in this game, what happens is, well, you lose. Because it's the players who are using the more passive tiles, the other types of events, are getting those out and building up archaea, which is basically the form of currency, and it's also the form of victory points at the end of the game. That archaea is what you want to build up the most. So you don't want to get too heavy on attacking other players, deleting their archaea in the process. You want to build up your own archaea. And so since a lot of the tiles, about half at least, don't really build up the archaea like the other ones do, for some people, it's counterproductive, that idea that that's going to happen. But while that's the case, sorry, my throat. So while that's the case, some of the tiles, while they are designed to attack, you use the attack sparingly, and at a certain point in the game, you're going to stop that attacking. You need to, because you're going to want to build up the archaea onto it. And at most, every tile can only have 10 archaea on it. And you want to max out your attack tiles and not use them for your attacks, because at the end of the game, for each 2 archaea that is on a tile, it's worth 1 victory point. So you're still going to get victory points even on those attack tiles. And so at some point, you want to stop the attacking and just build up the archaea and then be done with that. And that's actually more productive than you would think. And that's the disconnect that most people just don't seem to recognize with this game, that I think that was the reason why they don't like it. The Dice Tower crew, most of them do not like it, or just haven't played it. They've heard about it and they don't want to play it because everyone else didn't like it, right? But I think this is a great game. I think this is worth a chance. If you haven't played this game, it's worth your time to check it out and play it and learn it and see if this is a game for you. Because like I said, you're building an ecosystem, and while there is attacking, most of the attacks are not that vicious. There's a lot of attacks in this game that feel like I'm only doing 1 archaea worth of damage. So sometimes I don't even feel like, what's the point of attacking right now? Plus, there's shells in this game that you can get, okay? And if you get those early on, all damage is reduced by half. So even if you had an attack that would have done 6 damage to one player, if he had a shell, he's only receiving 3 damage. And if he has another shell, he can block the next attack and the next attack, and you're just like, okay, let's stop at the attacking. So it really discourages attacking in this game. So it's not like, you're gaining much by attacking anyways. So that's why I think that this is a gem. This is definitely my 9th favorite game. I won't be persuaded by anyone. This is an amazing game, and Alex Davis is the designer of this game, but Ryan Lockett did the artwork for this game. But I think he did an amazing job with this game. So thank you to Alex Davis, if he's watching this. Not that he will, but if he does, thank you for making this game. And I'm glad I got to meet you in person at SaltCon earlier this year. So thank you. An amazing game, Deep Vents, my number 9. Okay, so my number 8 is another game. It's a nice little game again. It is called Forest Shuffle. Now this is an interesting card-driven game. So what you're going to do with this game is you're going to plant a tree into your tableau. And the idea is you're building a forest, okay? You're going to build a forest, a bunch of trees. And then you're going to want to surround the tree with plants and animals. And, mushrooms, since they're not considered plants, right? And so you're going to want to do that. And it's interesting because this game is very interesting because a lot of the cards just score you victory points. But there's a lot of interesting cards and combos that you can do with this game to play out, a bunch of different animals at once even. There's, for instance, the gnat. If you play the gnat into your forest, you can play all your bats that you have in your hand for free. So if you've been hoarding bats and you haven't been playing them, and you finally get yourself that gnat, hey, I get to play all my bats for free. Because when you play an animal into your tableau, most likely you have to discard a card from your hand to play it into your forest. And that card you're discarding is going to a clearing. And that card that you're discarding is potentially going to be taken by another player. So if you discard a card you want to keep later down the road and grab, just be prepared that you might not get it back because another player might be interested in the card that you just discarded. So that's very interesting. A card that you're discarding that you can actually obtain back, potentially, is an interesting mechanic, for sure. Not very many games that you discard cards you'll get back, unless it's like a deck building game, right? This isn't a deck building game, so it's very unusual, to say the least, a card that you're discarding you're going to get back, potentially, if another player doesn't take it. But then there's also other things to think about. You're keeping track of what your opponents are doing, and if there's a card that could help them out, potentially you don't want to discard it, so that way they take it and score a lot of points, right? Because there's a lot of different strategies with this game, and if you just have the base game, the deer strategy is overpowered. And so if there's somebody who's going the deer wolf strategy, and he's already got a wolf and he's already got a couple of deer, and you have a deer in your hand, you don't want to discard it. But sometimes you're looking at what you need to discard in order to play a certain card, and you're like, oh, but I don't have anything else I can discard that would work for this, and so it's a big dilemma. And I say that because some cards will give you huge bonuses if you discard certain cards with leaves on them, certain types of leaves. And so you might need to discard that one card so that way you can play this awesome card and get a huge bunch of benefits. But then you're also potentially helping out your opponents because they need that card, right? So it's a dilemma, but it's a fun dilemma. It's fun to build your forest and score points. It's fun playing with all the different strategies. I mean, I personally don't like playing the deer and wolf strategy because I feel like everybody does that. And why would I want to do something that everybody is just doing to win when there's a lot of other strategies you could go for? And I like the other strategies, like the bat strategy, for instance. I really like that strategy. Or the paw strategy, where you focus on playing paw animals and other cards that work with paw animals. There's a lot of different strategies with this game. So many. And with each expansion that comes out, it seems like it strengthens some of the actual strategies, or even makes new strategies. There's already 2 expansions, but only one is physically available, and the other one's only on Board Game Arena. So, but as a player who has played with all the expansions, man, it's an amazing game. It just keeps getting better and better. That's why Forest Shuffle is my number 8. It's a fun little game. It's a very, very strategic game in a little box, and it's very popular too, but it doesn't matter if it's popular or not. I think it's a great game. Forest Shuffle, my number 8. Okay, so my next game, you need an app in order to play. And I might have said in my 11 through 20 that the search for Lost Species was my only app-driven game that needed an app to play. And I sort of forgot that this game also needs an app to play. So this is my only other app-driven game in my collection. I promise you, though, this is the only other one I have. And so my number 7 is Lands of Gere. So you need an app to play this game. The app is so well done. Okay, so while Above and Below has some other mechanics to play with, and it's all random encounters, this game is one giant story. But then it's also got random encounters as well, so it's got the best of both worlds. But 90% of this game is story driven. So if you want to play a game that has a bunch of mechanics, obviously this might not be the game for you because it's mostly just story. You're going to be reading a lot of story line and then rolling some dice for dice checks in order to do certain actions and things as you are basically, playing out the story of what you're doing. And that's really cool. I like that. There's little pegs that you can put onto your character's player board, basically, and they can be certain things can make certain statuses or skills that you have better. You might be a thief, so to speak, so your thievery might be higher. You might be more energetic. You might have survival skills and things like that. You might have intuition, and a lot of the different things that you're doing are going to require a certain skill set that you might not have to do, and then you won't be able to do it because you don't have that skill set. But then if you do, then you might be able to do something that, is amazing because you have that particular skill set. And as you play the game, certain things might maneuver some of your skill sets around, but you can't upgrade your skill sets. You're not leveling up in this game and until you're maxed out on stats. No, it doesn't let you do that in this game, which is very interesting that it doesn't. So you really makes it a little bit more strategic of where your skill set's going to be. And sometimes I find myself just moving around and around. So I'm not usually just on one skill set the whole game. I've played this a lot. Now this can be played solo, and I've played it a lot solo. And you can play up to 4 players, and you can play competitively, or you can play co-op. Doesn't matter, which is interesting. But what's really interesting about this game is because it's similar to a campaign, and because the story is evolving, the next time you play, you just basically pick up where you left off. The app tells you where to put stuff per the character you're playing. This is all animal folk, by the way, if I didn't say that. This is an animal folk game. Everyone is some sort of animal, right? There's a newt character, for instance. There's a frilled lizard character that I like to play with, for instance. So, yeah, they're just all animals, that's another reason why I like this game. Lands of Gere is because it's an animal folk game. I love animal folk in games. And so, anyways, so you're going to be doing that. And, sorry, I lost my thought. Just give me a second. Lost my thought. Hold on. I'm going to pause. Hold on. Okay, so while you are playing a story that's just going to continue and continue and continue as you play it, you can invite a new player to join you. If there's a character that hasn't been played with yet, you can invite somebody who has not played this game to join you, and they can be starting out their beginning story while you are you've done everything, pretty much, and you can still enjoy the game together, even though your experience is more, moved on and continued on with stuff, and the other player's just starting out with his beginning story. So that's interesting. So I like that system a lot, so that way you can invite new people to play. And then here's the thing. So let's say you're playing this game with a couple of people, and those 2 people decide to leave your group and don't join you for board games anymore, which is what has happened to me. What can I do about that? Well, I can reset their characters is what I can do. And the app and the rule book tells you how to do that very simply. It's not something hard to do. It's something very simple to reset everything from scratch. So that way you can start all over again. And you don't have to do that with everybody. You can just do it with, their characters, or you can do it with everything. You can just completely reset the whole game and start completely over too at any time in the game when you think you've experienced a lot and you want to start again, maybe with another character, but you want to start from scratch completely. This game does that in such a great way. Like I said, such an easy way to reset everything. It's amazing for sure. And that's one of the reasons why I like this game is it's not like something where you have to play the game and you have to play with a certain character and you wanted to play with another character, but that character, is somebody else's character, which is just not around today to play it, right? And you would like to play that character. Well, you can be like, well, let's just reset everything, especially if that other friend's not coming back anytime soon, Not that they're going to remember where they were. If they haven't played with you in 6 months, they're not going to remember where they were at anyway. They're not going to realize that. Not likely. But I think Lands of Gere is an amazing beautiful experience of a game. One of the most experienced games I've ever played, where it's just the experience that makes this game so fun and enjoyable. But like I said, not for everybody. Not for everybody. If somebody just wants to have mechanics, it's not for somebody who just wants to play a game that has tons of mechanics, right? You know, this is not maybe a game for them. But if you want a story, you want to play something that makes you feel like you're there in the story, you know, a book, but better because you get to basically decide what's going to happen next, almost, right? You can change the outcome of the book you're reading, is what this game is. And that's why Lands of Galactic is my number seventh favorite game. Okay, so what is my number 6? What is my 6th favorite game? Well, it's another Red Raven game. Surprise, surprise. I've got a lot of them on this list. So, that is Creature Caravan. All right, so another Red Raven game. Now, this game just came out this year, so it's new to the list. Wasn't on my list last year. I didn't have it last year. So, new to the list, a new game to the list. So, Creature Caravan. Basically, the theme of this game is you are in a town, basically, and in volcanic lands nearby your hometown, a bunch of lava rock monsters have basically started just spreading all over the place from these volcanic lands. And they're just a real nuisance because everything they touch just burns up because they're covered in flames. So they're a real nuisance to everybody else who isn't a lava rock-like monster, basically. Even to some of the more dangerous other monsters that you would come across in this world of Arzium, because that's where this game takes place, in the world of Arzium. Same thing with Above and Below, world of Arzium. And so what you're going to do is, thematically, you're going to leave town and find some place that's safer. So you know of a town called Easttree, which is quite a ways away. It's potentially weeks away, you know, by caravan. So you're going to get into your caravan, and you're going to traverse that landscape, and you're going to try to make it to Easttree. That's the idea, thematically. And as you are going along the way, what you're going to do is you're going to be picking up stragglers, people that want to join your caravan. So they're going to join your caravan, and they're going to help you in various ways as you traverse the landscape. That's the theme of the game. Mechanically, you're going to get victory points. If you make it all the way to Easttree, you're going to get a ton of victory points. So that's one way to get victory points in this game. It's just get to Easttree, get a ton of victory points that way. But this is also a terminology game, okay? And so you're going to be playing cards into your tableau, into your caravan, and they're going to score you points based on certain cards that you have. And you're only allowed to have, your caravan's not big enough for everyone. So you're only allowed to have like 20 cards, I think it is. 20 cards into your tableau. There might be some cards that can fix that little issue. The Grass Queen might be able to do that, actually. And I did get to do that once, actually, now that I remember. So, but anyways, you're allowed only a certain amount of cards into your caravan. And so you really have to think, which ones do I want to play? You're going to start with a certain amount of cards in your hand, and you're going to get more as you play the game. And you're going to put certain ones into your tableau to pull off a bunch of awesome abilities. So, like, for instance, this is a dice placement game. So you're going to be rolling dice and placing them to take actions, okay? Now, the actions you start with are very basic. And if you are only using that player board that you start with as your actions for the whole game, you're not going to be able to do much. You're certainly going to have a lot of hard time getting to Easttree because your traversing landscape isn't very helpful if that's all you're doing. So you need to play cards that will help you get to Easttree sooner, basically. Or will actually help you get there, for sure. And so there are cards you can play that can help you traverse the landscapes, okay? So there's that. That's nice. But then you can also play cards that give you a bunch of different bonuses and benefits. And playing cards requires resources. So you're going to want to play cards that give you more resources as well. So all of the cards require bread in order to play into your caravan. You need to pay bread. Well, you need to also get bread, right? And the various actions will help you do that too. But you also need other things too. You might need coins, or you might need bags as well in order to play a certain card into your caravan, right? And so while you're doing that, you're going to be playing certain cards, and they each have a little bit of terminology on them. You know, they'll have a certain term. You know, maybe it'll say folk, for instance, or you know, maybe it'll say delver, for instance. You know, and maybe you'll have a card here that says, hey, if you have 3 delver cards in your caravan, this card gives you 8 victory points at the end of the game. So you're like, oh, I need to find more cards that give me delver cards if I want to make this more useful to me. So you get a lot of victory points just by playing certain cards into your tableau. You can get a lot of victory points that way. But there's other ways to score victory points. So it's not like you all have to take the same path in order to win. You can each go a different route, basically, in order to get the most victory points and win. Because it's the player who gets the most victory points that wins the game at the end of the day. Not the only player who made it to Istri. And of course, everyone can make it there. But like I said, there's lots of ways to score points. Another way you can score points is by fighting off these lava rock monsters that you will come across as you traverse the landscape. And you can get a lot of victory points fighting them, but you're not very strong with just your simple caravan. So you might need to find some you know, people or monsters that want to join your caravan to help you fight off these nuisances, these lava rock monsters, like a giant snake, for instance. I love that giant snake. But yeah, but that's just one of the many, for instance, that could potentially help you fight monsters, these lava rock monsters off. So that's really cool. I love that. I just love the card mechanics. I love playing the different cards. There's cards that say, hey, every time you play a card from now on, you get a bread. Oh, I love that card. I seem to always get it. Much to the charajan of my, you know, or whatever you call it, you know, of my friends for always getting that card for somehow, some way. There's cards that let you basically add dice to your game. So while you have a certain amount of dice that you play out round after round after round, there's cards that give you more dice. And so there was one game I played with my friend, and he had like 2 extra dice for the whole game, and I didn't get a single card that gave me any dice. But I had all these other abilities that gave me, you know, free bread and free bags and free coins for doing things. And he didn't have that. So, like I said, it's an amazing game. You can all just kind of go your own route, do your own thing, you know, and get victory points. You know, there's a market that you can trade in bags and coins for bread and victory points. And you can do that well and get a ton of victory points that way. So like I said, this is an amazing game. It's an amazing experience. Definitely one of my favorite Red Raven games. Not my favorite, but close to my favorite Red Raven game. It's an amazing game, like I said. And that's why Creature Caravan is my number 6, my 6th favorite game. All right. So we are now halfway through this video. Halfway through my top 10. Hold on. Okay, so my number 5 is a game that has dropped a bit. It used to be my most favorite game for years. It was my most favorite game. And then I think last year it was my number 3, I think, or my second favorite game maybe. And now it's my number 5. Now, I still think this is an amazing game. It's awesome. Maybe it'll go back up. It's just, I haven't physically played it at all this year. I've only played it digitally. And that's a shame, because my 5th favorite game is Everdell. Yes, a game with tons of expansions, and most of those expansions, if not any, are not available digitally, unfortunately, right? So that's a shame. But hopefully next year I can get this back to the table. We can play this game again. So Everdell is beautiful. It's a beautiful animal folk game. So what do I like about this game? Well, it's a worker placement game. So you're going to send out your workers to get various resources. But thematically, you're all animal folk. And you're building a town that's an animal folk town. So you're gathering berries and twigs and resin and little pebbles to build your town. And then put various animal folk into your town to, because you need people in your town, right? I just love this game. Thematically, I love this game so much. Mechanically, it's awesome too. Playing certain cards into your tableau, into your town, you're only allowed a certain amount of cards into your town, just like with Creature Caravan, you're only allowed to have certain cards in your caravan. You can only have like 15 cards in your town. So you're limited to what you can build. And there's a lot of different cards. There's cards that let you get stuff. During certain seasons, they'll give you things. And they'll give you things when you play them. There's other cards that will just give you things when you play them, and then that's it. You don't get anything else from them. There's cards that will activate when you do certain things, and you'll get certain things, like cards and resources, And then there's cards that let you go there, put a worker down to do a variety of different things, including get resources for more cards into your town. And it's just an amazing game. I really love Everdell. It's beautiful. It's got tons of expansions. My favorite expansion is still Everdell Spirecrest. It's still that one. But I've got Everdell Spirecrest and Pearlbrook and New Leaf and Mistwood. And I've even got Everdell Farshore, which is an amazing game, and it's a separate game, because it still is. And while that's an amazing game, it didn't make my top 20. It was in my top 30 somewhere. So, but regardless, this one still remains at the top, and even without the expansions, it's amazing. Most of my friends are not ready for many of the expansions, especially if it's been over a year since any of them have played it. They're definitely going to just be playing the core game next time. But that's fine, because since I have all the expansions, I have all of the different animal folk you get to play as. And so while we're only potentially going to play the core game next time, we can still use the lizards from Spirecrest, or the Azultals from Pearlbrook, or the bats, from Mistwood, I believe they're from. Regardless of the case, I'm gonna use those regardless of whether we're just playing the core game or not. And I think that's an amazing thing. I really love all of the different animal folk that you can play as. Somebody wants to play the lizards? That's fine. I'll play the Azultals, or I'll play the owls, or I'll play the bats. I'll probably play the bats if no one else chooses them. So it's just an amazing game. It's so beautiful. It's so amazing. So much to do in this game. And like I said, the expansions add more playability. Like I said, Spirecrest is still my favorite. Yeah, like I said, I've only played it digitally, and I wish I could have gotten this to the table this year. It just didn't work out for this year. But maybe next year, hopefully next year, I'll get Everdell to the table, and we can play Everdell again. It's an amazing game. And that's why Everdell is my 5th favorite game. Okay. So my number 4 is new to the list. It's another game that's new to my list. That means it came out this year, most likely, right? And it did come out this year. It's also an extremely popular game. More popular than many people thought it would. But even though it's that popular, has nothing to do with why it's my favorite, because it's one of my favorites. It's definitely my favorite of 2024, and that is Harmonies. Oh man, I love this game so much. So Harmonies. The idea of this game is you're building an ecosystem. And so you're going to be placing out various tokens of different types of habitats, like maybe some grass, some water for a river, some plains, some wood to build a tree, some houses. And then while you're trying to build this ecosystem, you're also going to look for animals that work with what tokens are out and try to get some animals placed out. And try to score points that way. You can score points on the ecosystem, and you can score points on the animals. It's a puzzle. This game is so much a puzzle game. I just can't stop playing this game. It's so amazing. I have played this game, and it hasn't even been out the full year. I have played this game almost 150 times. That's a lot of plays for one game. Now it is on Board Game Arena now, but it didn't start out that way, and I had like over 50 plays before it was on Board Game Arena, by the way. So I play this with my friends a lot. We have played it a lot physically. I've played it solo physically. Yes, this is another game you can play solo. Most of my games on my top 10 can be played solo. Not all, but most. And this is one of them. And it's easy. It's quick to get into. It's easy to teach. This is a game that I think anybody can learn. Anybody can learn this game. They may not master the puzzle right away, but they can learn the game and enjoy it. I think anybody can learn this game and play it. It's an amazing game. I love it so much. I can't stop playing it. I love all the different types of formations of placing out certain animals, you know. Ah, man, this is an amazing game. I hope this one, you know, becomes Game of the Year because I think it's an amazing game. And apparently I'm not the only one that thinks Harmonies is an amazing game. So, yeah, I love it. I love it so much. My number 4, Harmonies. Oh, I love the puzzle. Okay. All right, so my next game is going to be physically heavy, so I'm not going to be holding it up for very long because it is heavy. So this is my last Red Raven game on the list. It is my most favorite Red Raven game. And that is Empires of the Void 2. So this is a space game. Okay, you're going to go into space. There's various aliens in this game that I love. And in fact, you know what? I'm going to show you some. Hold on. So, like I said, I love this game. Now, one of the things I like about this game is I like playing with the different alien races. So there's 5 different factions you can play as. You can play these guys, the Legions of Decima. They're cool. I like playing with them. Then we have the Parasites of Screech. Probably my second favorite of the alien races that you can play as. Definitely one of my favorites. So you can play as them. They're cool. And they remind me of the Zerg from StarCraft, but that's probably why. Then we have the 7th Academy of Egg. I think that's how it's pronounced. Of Eeg. There we go. Yeah. And they're frog people. Another reason why I like playing with them. They're my favorite to play with. And so you can play as frog aliens, which is cool. I like that. I love that a lot. So that's one of them that you can play as. Yes, there's humans. If you want to play the humans, we've got the Nomads of Earth. They're okay. I'd rather play the aliens, though. And then we have the Oracles of Zun, my third favorite to play as, which remind me a bit of the Protoss from StarCraft a bit. You see they've got like a force shield basically on their bodysuits. That's really cool. Their home world is covered in crystals. I love these player boards so much. And so you're playing with one of these factions, and they've had to leave home. A alien race that's super powerful, that's attacking all of them. Wow, so these 5 alien races, they don't get along so well. But, you know, they've got a bigger threat that's attacking all of them. So they've been forced to leave their home worlds, and they've gone into a stretch of space that they've never been to before. Well, this stretch of space has other alien worlds, and some of them have their own intelligent life forms. And some of them are even, like, space-worthy, and they travel the stars themselves. So we have, for instance, we have Korzar, which is this red world. It's the vegetation, it's all red. The bugs on the planet are the size of, like, cars and buses, just so you know. And the race that live there are these cyborgs. They're outcasts from another planet that have been exiled to this world, but there's so many of them there. It's like they are their own, you know, unique alien race. So that's one of the planets you could visit, right? Then we've got Amrock, which, if you look at them, they look like little kangaroos, right? That's kind of sort of what they look like. They're like the little fuzzy bears of Endor or something, from Star Wars. But obviously that's not the case because they're more like kangaroos, and this is M-Rock. But it is a forest planet for sure. It's a beautiful looking planet, right? And we've got Silast, which I guess they're like some sort of insect-like, humanoid insect race, maybe. Maybe something similar to the Xindi of Star Trek Enterprise or something, the insectoids, right? That's what they kind of remind me of. But they might not be insect at all. It's just, that's what they look like to me. And that's their world. And then we've got Tanlock, which are these squids. These floating psychic, they're like psychic, they're like telepathic is what I should say. They're a telepathic race of squids, and they spend most of their time just researching and reading, and they like their isolation. They don't like other people coming to their world, but they're not going to just destroy you for coming either necessarily. Then we have Setna, and this is an ocean world where like 99% of the planet is water, if not more. So there's not very much land mass. But yes, the race, the Centenians, they're like this fish race. They're some sort of fish, or they can breathe underwater at least. But they're very intelligent. They're scientists. They're geneticists. They're trying to restore the animals that have gone extinct on their world, and they're trying to cure diseases on other alien worlds that are having issues. So they're very, very, very intelligent. Then we have Arzos, and this is like a rock type of humanoid, some sort of rough-skinned, rock-like, but humanoid. That's what they look like. That's another alien race you can go to, and their planet is frozen. And so, because their planet is frozen solid, where most of the life forms live is actually in an underground cavern, ginormous underground cavern. Then we have Measle 3. And these are like red-skinned alien. This is a red-skinned alien race. And you'll notice their planet looks very toxic, and it is. 100% of their planet is covered in buildings. 100% of it. And it's polluted. And a lot of the planet is uninhabitable because of how toxic it is. But they're a race that isn't affected by the toxic fumes of their planet. Well, if they can survive there, they can survive there. The rest of us, not so much. Then there's Volca 7. This is an alien race that went extinct, but they're machines. They left their machines behind, and their machines protect their world and don't like invaders, and everyone is an invader to them, so they'll attack anybody who comes to their planet. So that means that they're not the funnest planet to play with, and it's not recommended you play with this your first time anyway, because of that reasoning. Then we have Tanfu. And these are lizards. They're lizards. Yes, lizards. So a lizard alien race. So we've got a frog alien race you can play as, and you can visit Tanfu, a lizard alien race. Another reason why I like this game. This planet alone. No one is allowed to attack Tanfu if you're playing this game. I will attack anybody who goes after them. Suffice it to say, I never attack them, and I always try to be diplomatic with them. And then finally, the last planet, Corlozon, which is protected by these zealots. And it's very city-like, the planet, right? Reminds me of Coruscant from Star Wars. And, it reminds me of the Empire almost, except instead of clones, you've got these, droids protecting the planet. But the theme of the planet says it's a bizarre melting pot of species from the far reaches of the galaxy. So it's like Coruscant. There's all forms of alien races on this one planet. It's an amazing, amazing thing. So all these different planets to go to. And so the idea of the game is you will want to be diplomatic with some of them. You need to make some allies, some friends in this part of the galaxy. Because that alien race that kicked you out of your home world, well, they're going to be coming for you at some point. They might be looking for you. So you need to make some allies. And you can get victory points that way. So the player who has the most victory points wins. So that's one of the ways you can score victory points, is making allies. But you can also attack other worlds too, and take control of their planet, and then still be diplomatic with them in the end. You can attack them and then, be nice to them after the fact and get victory points for both the equations. But if you're not the one who likes to attack other players or attack, these worlds, then you can just be diplomatic and win that way too. It's possible. And so it's really cool. But you want to make friends, because if you make friends with the various alien races, well, you can hire mercenaries from their home world, and they will be your friends for life, and they will help you out in space battles and things like that you might have with some of the other players, or attacking other worlds, And some alien races would be more than happy to help you attack their enemy. Yes, some of these alien worlds, they don't get along with some other aliens. The alien race from Measle 3 hates the Tanfoons, the lizard people. And the lizard people hate Measle 3. So if you're making allies with one of them, you're most likely becoming enemies with the other, potentially. A lot of their missions and things. And that's the thing. In this game, you're going to be exploring, but you can do things that interact with all the worlds. And so while this isn't a storytelling game, a lot of the cards that you play out give you this idea, this sense that there's sort of a little bit of a story going on, which I really like. It's not story-driven by any means, but it just has enough interesting stuff going on that you're like, oh, I just kidnapped the president of Measle 3, and now I'm going to deliver him to Tanfu, Right. Tanfu's happy about that. Not Measle 3, though, of course. And so that you can make deliveries, and that's just one of the deliveries. Mostly you're going to be delivering objects and food and things like that to other worlds. But in that case, you're delivering the president of Measle 3 to Tanfu for the Tanfoons to do whatever they're going to do with him, And so there's missions that you can do. There's deliveries that you can do. There's events that you can do. There's going to be an event for every single planet, and there's like 5 different events for each planet, but you only play with one of the events, so lots of replayability there. You also only have access to a certain amount of planets in the game, and there's no way to play with them all. So there's always going to be 2 planets that don't get played with that game, and it even tells you which of the potential planets you won't play with. And it will be different every time, but that Volca 7 planet is definitely one of them that you won't play with, probably, unless you really want to play with that one. But yeah, it's so it's very interesting that way. So lots of replayability with Empires of the Void 2. It's an amazing game, like I said, and I showed you the planets, the races you can play as. That's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, it's an experience for sure, but then there's other cool stuff here too. So we've got we've got lots of I got these extra from like the dollar store, but we've got you've got a spaceship, this is for the frog alien race, for instance. There's spaceships you have, and all the components are really nice. These cubes are cool, I like those. Like I said, the components are really nice for this game. Most of them are still cardboard. There's no deluxe version for this game, but it's very deluxe if you ask me on its own. It's very cool. Yeah, it's just an amazing game. And that's why Empires of the Void 2 is my 3rd favorite game. It's awesome. Okay, so what is my 2nd favorite game? My 2nd favorite game is by Bad Comment, and it's called Life of the Amazonia. Man, there's so many things to like about this game, Life of the Amazonia. So this is a bag building game. I don't have very many bag building games. I've got something similar, Cubidos' dice building. It's pretty close, but it's not quite the same. I have War Chest. That's another bag building game, but that's like towards my top 100 almost. But anyways, Life of the Amazonia is an amazing game. This is like I'm gonna put it down. But this game is like an upgraded version of Cascadia, or a more in-depth version of Cascadia. So Cascadia used to be in my top 10, and that's dropped below my top 20. And the reason why is because Life of the Amazonia does a lot of the things Cascadia did, but in a bigger, better package. Plus, there's more animals involved in this game than there is in Cascadia, and for me, the more the merrier. In fact, with that said, we've got all sorts of animals. I decided to show you. So we've got you know, a leopard here, for instance, and I'm not going to be able to pick up the box again, but we've got, probably not, but we've got the scarlet macaw, for instance, you know, and we've got a giant river otter, for instance. The meeples are amazing, you know, and we've got a caiman, for instance, you know, and then we've got some more. So that's just some of them. Those are the bigger ones. Then we've got toucans. So let's see if I can see if you guys can see that. We got a toucan, for instance, and we've got a golden lion tamarin, for instance. You know, that's cool. And we've got 2 more in this bag. Hold on. And we've got these frogs. Aren't they cute? You know? And then we've got this woodpecker. Okay? Cool, right? So those animals are in every single game. But there's more. Each player gets an animal special to their forest. And we've got lots of animals in here. There's a Amazon River pink dolphin in here, a green iguana. We've got a bat in here. We've got piranhas in here. There's just so many different animals that you could start with to make your ecosystem, to make your Amazonia unique and special to you. So hold on. So anyway, lots of beautiful animals that you can play as in Life of the Amazonia. So you're building an ecosystem in this game, okay? And the object of the game is to score the most victory points. And you can do that a number of ways. You can do that by getting out tons of animals, right? That's the main way to do that. You can do that by getting out a lot of more land tiles, because you only start with 1, and you're going to want to upgrade and build more land tiles out to place out more animals, right? And trees. That's another thing you can place out. Lots of trees, lots of water flowers. There's extra scoring cards that you can obtain to score extra victory points that way based on how you're building your ecosystem. There's insect cards you can get out that give you a bunch of different immediate bonuses. Some of them are extremely useful to the situation. Some of them are just extremely useful, and some of them are just not as great as others. But regardless of the case, there's lots of different things to love about this game. I'm not going to show you, but then there's also these boats, which are very functional, these boats. Because what you do is, it's a bag building game. So you're going to put coins into a bag, all right? You're going to start with a certain amount of coins. And you're going to use those coins, and there's 4 different kinds. You're going to use those coins to purchase, not really purchase, but get more coins maybe. So there's coins that are just money coins that allow you to buy all the other coins to add more to your bag, because it is a bag building game. So you're building up your bag, you're getting more coins, you're getting rid of some of the weaker coins, so that way you're always constantly drawing the better coins. And you're going to build up that bag of coins with fruit coins, or water coins, or leaf coins, or money coins, okay? Money coins to buy the other 3 coins, along with more money coins. And then you need the fruit coins in order to play animals, but you also might need some of the water coins or some of the leaf coins to play some animals too. But you're always going to need the fruit coins to get more animals. So when you start the game off, there's not very many animals you can play because you only have a couple of fruit, and you're going to need a lot more in order to get the better animals, the bigger ones, like the caiman, for instance, you know, or the giant otter, river otter, for instance. And so while you're doing that, you're building up this bag. Well, at some point, you're going to use those coins to do a bunch of different things, you know. You're going to use maybe the leaf coins to get trees, you know. You're going to maybe use the leaf coins to get more, you know, landmass for your ecosystem, right? More tiles for your ecosystem. You're going to use the water coins maybe to get some insects, maybe some scoring cards too. Or you might use the water coins to get more water flowers. And of course, you're always going to use those coins for animals too, potentially. like the frogs, for instance. And so you're going to use those coins, and then when you're done with them, they're going to go into a discard pile, because it's just like a deck building game. There's a discard pile in a back building game too. But those coins are going to go into a boat. And then when your bag is empty, you need to put all the coins that you have in your discard pile into your bag. And so since they're all sitting in your boat, you just pick the boat up, you open up your bag, and you just dump them into the bag. Very functional boat. It's not just for show. It's functional. It'll help it and make it so much easier. Otherwise, if you have them on the, just scattered out on the table, it's going to take a few handfuls before you get them back into that bag. But it's just like I said, it's a simple thing to pick up the boat and just dump them and slide them into the bag. It's an amazing mechanic. I'm glad they added that. But like I said, this game is amazing to play. It's truly an experience building this ecosystem, making it unique with your own special animal with its own special ability. But the animal itself is just cool to have. You can be the player that has the pink Amazon dolphin. You can be the player that has the giant anteater. There's so many choices to choose from that you could potentially get. Of course, you're only given 2 choices, and then you just pick one of the 2 for the game. Now, personally, I wouldn't mind if you could have all of the different animals in your ecosystem too. That wouldn't be so bad. But regardless of the case, this is an amazing game as is. I don't need to house rule anything. I think this is an amazing game. It's beautiful, it's well done, production-wise, but it's also just so much fun to play. It's definitely a more in-depth version of Cascadia, so it's not going to be for people who think Cascadia is a little difficult to play. It's certainly not going to be easy for them to play Life of the Amazonia. But for those who like Cascadia and want a more in-depth version of it, Life of the Amazonia comes pretty close to being a better version of Cascadia any day of the week. And that's why it's my second favorite game, Life of the Amazonia. Okay, so one more game. What is my most favorite game? Well, it was my most favorite game last year. And I think I had it the year before that. I think it was my most favorite game the year before that as well. And that is the ultimate zoo building game. In fact, it's on my shirt. Of course, the zoo has been erased, but it says, "We built a zoo." It should say that, but it doesn't anymore because it's kind of faded away. I'm just happy the lizard icon is still on the shirt. Anyways, the reptile icon, I mean. And it is Ark Nova is my most favorite board game ever made. Okay, I'm going to put it down. It's heavy. So, Ark Nova is a zoo building game, okay? It is a very complex zoo building game. Not the most complex zoo building game, okay? There's another one out there that's even more complex than Ark Nova. That's a zoo building game. But man, there's just so much to love. I'm a zoo volunteer. Of course I'm going to love a zoo building game, right? Wouldn't that make sense that it's my favorite? That's one of the reasons why it's my favorite, because I just love building a zoo. Now, there are tons of animals in this game. There's no way that somebody's going to have the same animals as you. Your zoo is going to be unique to you. You're the only one that's going to have that Bengal tiger. Your friend might have a Siberian tiger, but you're the only one that's got the Bengal tiger, and there's only one giraffe in the game. So if you have the giraffe, nobody else is going to have the giraffe, right? And there's so many different animals you can choose from. There's still animals that aren't in this game that I wish there were. I wish we had frogs, and I wish we had some insects in this game. That's one of the animals that aren't in this game here. So maybe they'll make an expansion to add more animals. And if they do that, that's what I want. Just more animals. I love this game as is. Now, the Marine Worlds expansion fixed some of the issues that a lot of other people had issues with. And I think it's an amazing expansion, and I love playing with it. But I don't have to have it, okay? Because I like it as is. The issues that other people had with the game, with the base game, I don't have issues with whatsoever. I just want to build an amazing zoo. I don't care if I win. I often lose this game when I play online. When I play on Board Game Arena or the Steam app on Steam, of course I usually win against the AI. But when I'm playing against other players, I usually lose. But I'm not playing to win. I'm playing to build a cool zoo. this Tasmanian devil over here doesn't necessarily going to help me out, but I want it in my zoo. I see it, I have it, it's right there. I want to draw it into my hand and put it into my zoo. I want to snap it into my hand and play it into my zoo, even if it's not going to help me out at all. I just want that animal in my zoo. I want all of the animals in my zoo, but I can only have so many, and so strategically, yes, I might still try to go for certain animals for sure. But for the most part, I just want to build a cool zoo. That's what we all want. When you go to the zoo, we want to see, a whole bunch of different animals. You're not going to see every single animal, especially if the zoo's humongous, like the Bronx Zoo in New York City, for instance, which is an amazing zoo. But the Boise Zoo, yeah, you'll see all the animals, but you might not see them all out. You might see their enclosures, but some of the animals might be hiding, so you might not see them all. Especially those frogs that spend all their day underground. You probably won't see them. Or that little house gecko that we have. You're probably not going to see it because it's so tiny and it's hiding, always hiding. But regardless of the case, man, I just love going to the zoo. I love volunteering at the zoo. I love the idea of building a zoo. This zoo game is amazing. So I just love it. And some of it is, and most of it is very thematic too. That's another reason why I like it, is most of it is very thematic. You need to build enclosure tiles to put your animals into the enclosure tiles, and if you get a partnership with a certain zoo, that can decrease the cost a little bit of your animal that you're playing into your zoo. It makes sense that when you build the reptile house, that certain reptiles aren't going to take up much space at all in your reptile house because they're small and their enclosure is small. So you have plenty of room in your reptile house for all these reptiles. But it makes sense that the crocodile is going to take up a lot of space in your reptile house because it needs more space. It's just thematic, the animal that's huge is going to need a bigger exhibit. And it just makes sense, It also makes sense that certain herbivores are flocking animals, and they do well with other herbivores as well. And so you can put them together because they do well with each other. And that's thematically just makes sense. It's just an amazing game. The iconography for me, it was easy to learn, but not everybody has had an easy time learning the iconography, I guess. But for me, it just made sense. The iconography just makes sense. I didn't really have any issue with any of the iconography in this game. It's an amazing game. So much you can do to win this game, but honestly, at the end of the day, I don't care to win. I just want to build a cool zoo. Now, that doesn't mean I don't win against my friends, because, let's face it, I do. But I'm not there to win. I'm there to build a cool zoo, and I want to see what my friends are doing. I want to see what animals they're putting into their zoo. And when I see a friend not put very many animals into a zoo, I'm like, well, I know what kind of zoo this is going to be. It's going to be more of a museum than a zoo. Don't like that. But if that's what he wants to do, oh well. But regardless of the case, I just love this game. It's my most favorite game. It will stay probably my most favorite game. Unless they come out with a zoo game that's better than this, that might be easier to teach, but is like this, that adds lots of animals and stuff like that. That might be interesting. But I don't see this one ever dropping from my number one. And Harmonies came out this year, and I've played it way more than Ark Nova. I still played this game, Ark Nova, over 50 times this year. Okay, and of course, yes, that's mostly, Board Game Arena, right? But, and while I've played Harmonies more, I still didn't like Harmonies nearly as much as I like Ark Nova. It's still, for me, no contest. Harmonies is great as is, and it's great if I want to teach someone who's new to board games. That's the game to go for, and that's what I like about it. But if I want to play a complex game that takes some thinking, this is the game for me. This is the game that I want to teach to those who can handle that pressure, that complexity, and like that complexity. This is the game I want to play and teach to everybody. This is an amazing game. Anyone who wants to learn this game, if I see them in physically in the board game store and they say, hey, will you teach me Ark Nova? I'll be like, yes, I'll teach you Ark Nova because I love this game so much and I love teaching this game. So, thank you guys for watching my top 10 favorite games. If you are still watching, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, don't forget to leave me a like on this video, because I'm sure you liked at least some of the games on my list, if not all of them. And yeah, thank you guys for watching my top 10 favorite games. This has been an amazing year. I've looked back over the year, and a lot of the videos that I've made, some of them surprised me at the amount of views that I got from the video. You know, I've got an unboxing that has like over 1,000 views, and I didn't think I'd ever even get half that many. You know, it's been an amazing year. I've gotten some of these games to the table with my group. Empires of the Void 2 I got to the table a lot this year. I got Creature Caravan a lot to the table this year. I got Ark Nova a lot to the table this year. So Ark Nova got played with my friends at least a couple of times this year, for sure, if not 3. So Everdale's like the only one that I haven't really gotten to the table this year. But I got the rest, pretty much all of the rest, to the table at least once this year. So that's great. You know, and of course, I'm just happy to have a big, bunch of friends who enjoy playing board games with me. I love playing board games with them. I've got a good group. I'm happy with my group. I've lost a couple of friends to my group, and I've gained a few more, and that has just been a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's been a wonderful year. Like I said, I did 24 how to play videos this year. So probably not as many as I've done, but I've done that's a pretty good a number for considering I don't get any help with any of my videos, you know. It's not like I can ask my bearded dragon over there to give me a hand with video creation, and I don't think he could edit my videos for me if I needed to, right? Probably not. But it's just been a fun year. It's been a fun board game year, and if you've watched some of my videos, thank you for watching, and thank you if you're subscribed. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. I hope you've enjoyed a lot of my videos, or at least some of them that you've watched, and hopefully next year we'll get some more games to the table that I still haven't taught yet, and maybe we'll get some new games next year too. So thank you guys for watching my top 10, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.